just listen to you and do whatever it is that you say, or just take on whatever it is that you say. And for most kids, that's around age 5, okay? It's between like 5 and 6 for most of them. That's the point where those brainwaves actually switch over, and the child starts becoming their own filter. But by that point in time, so much has already gone in. 61% of your lifetime thoughts have already gone in. And let me tell you how I came up with that. I was at the seminar once and somebody said, well, you know, we have 50% of our thoughts by the time we're 5. And I thought, you know what? I think it's higher, because I just noticed. I was working with people already, removing specific issues, and I'll talk about that in a second. And I just noticed that so much of it was like 0 to age 3, 0 to age 3, and I thought it has to be higher. So I began measuring it with a lot of other things that I've measured, and what I found is that 61% of our lifetime thoughts are there by the time we're 5. Now, what happens is we have these thoughts, and those of you that are now in the video, you'll be able to see this, but everything is kind of stored as like a chain in our brain. So if you imagine in your mind a chain, and part of the chain is like your thought that you have, and part of the chain is your emotion that you have, and part of the chain is the smell and the taste and the touch. You know, there's a reason why, let's say, we associate the smell of chocolate chip cookies with certain things and all that, okay? All these associations are in our brain, and we smell something and it reminds us of something. There's a reason why we associate music with things, okay? All these are associations that are in there, and that chain makes an association. So you've got like a thought, and you've got this emotion, and you've got your senses and your smell and taste and touch and all that, and they all get connected. And when they get connected and they're automatically connected together, that's when that neural pathway is formed, and now it's automatic. And that's what we refer to as the subconscious. So when somebody is saying that you're operating out of your subconscious, or there's something happening that's not totally within your conscious thought, what they're really talking about is that phenomenon where you've learned something, it's become automatic, and now it's outside your level of conscious awareness. You're not paying attention to it. And the fact that we do this is part of the challenge of why it's so hard to get rid of this stuff. So now let me tell you a few of the challenges I discovered. Because what happened was, one day I just was sitting there with my clients, and in my quest to help people change quickly and effortlessly as one of the first coaches, I literally felt like I was pulling teeth. I remember I had this one client, she was from Ireland, and she had this idea that she should work. She kept getting laid off from internet companies, and she had this idea that she should work at an internet company because it was stable, and she had been laid off 13 times. And she would literally hear in her mind her mom's voice that said, get a stable job, get a stable job. So to her, an office job was stable, but it belied the fact that she had been laid off 13 times, because it really wasn't stable. And I looked at her and I said, okay, this is really not stable. And what she really wanted to do was to work in film. They make a lot of films, at least at that time, over in Ireland. And that's what she really wanted to do. But she wasn't doing it because she heard her mom's voice in her head, get a stable job, get a stable job. Okay? So I'm trying to figure out, those of you that are on the video, I have, let's see, I think I have a screensaver on here, and it's making I realized earlier it's making the video pop out every time the screensaver comes in, so I have to turn it off, but I gotta find it in here. So, that's what happened, is she had this association, and I would literally hear, like intuitively, her mom's voice in her head telling her to get a stable job. So we worked on getting rid of this one negative thought for like 3 months, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm pulling teeth. But it makes sense, because what happens is that neural pathway, it takes 26 days to form, okay? And NASA research has shown that it's like 26 days. It might be, some people use 21 days. This is the reason why when you do a lot of these programs, they tell you that you have to do it for 30 days. You got to repeat something for 30 days. Because it basically is on average how long it takes for you to overwrite a neural pathway that's already there. So let's say you've got a negative idea in there, and now it's this negative association, and now it's this automatic negative habit that's formed because it's gone in there automatically. What happens is you now need 26 days to overwrite that neural pathway and put a new idea in there. So when people tell you to do things like affirmations and visualizations, and they tell you to keep repeating it, this is why. Okay, so we worked on it. So it's not just the number of days, it's the number of repetitions and how long it takes to put a new idea in. It's kind of like creating a new road. Like you've got a road here, and this road is, not serving you, and it's all full of potholes, and it's, dirt and everything. And you don't just snap your fingers and create a new road by normal standards. Okay, so what happens is, you gotta grade the dirt, and you gotta, bring in whatever else you do to build a road. I'm sure there's some of you on the line that know how to build a road, but you've got to do all that stuff, and then you put the asphalt down, and then you build the road. Well, that's the normal way of using affirmations, visualizations, of working one by one to get rid of things. So as I was working with this client, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm pulling teeth. There must be an easier way. And then I ran across this machine that was supposed to remove negative conditioning, and you held it in your hands and all that. And I spent like $20,000 buying the machine and training and everything because I really believed in being able to help my clients more quickly and effortlessly. And, the story is that at a certain point in time, I actually realized that it was me and not the machine, which is its own other story. But that's kind of how this new process that I have that's called thought shifting was born, because I all of a sudden realized that we don't have to just go through all that work to rebuild the road, that we can actually snap our fingers and have that negativity be gone and have that association be gone, and that's the process that's called thought shifting. Okay, so I was gifted really divinely with this ability to help you in two ways. One is what I call quantum thought shifting, or my level 4 program that erases all the negativity and literally kind of is like as if you have a virus on your computer, but you've left pieces of it on. It just kind of takes it all off. And so it's a pretty huge transformation for people. And I started doing that initially, and then I found that that was too much change for a lot of people. So I stepped back with what I call level 2, and now it's at level 1, where you come in and I remove big chunks of negativity. But let me explain to you why that is so important, because what happens is if you've got this stuff that's in your subconscious now, that's in there, and what I found when I started measuring and saying, well, how do I know how much I'm helping people? What I found is that 97.4 of all of your thoughts on average in your head are negative. And let me explain what negativity means. Negativity doesn't mean you're a bummer or a drag or anything like that. What it means is these are like opposing thoughts. So if you imagine a battery, and remember, life is supposed to be effortless, right? And on one side, it's the positive, the other side's the negative. The positive side are all the things that help us effortlessly create our life the way that we want it. The negative side are all those things that get in our way. They're resistance. It's where it feels like we're pushing a snowball uphill. It's struggle, okay? And so 97.4% of our thoughts on average fall into that category. They're struggle. They get in our way. They don't serve us. And a lot of times I gave it a definition that it's the lies we tell ourselves that we don't even know we're telling ourselves, and we don't even know they're lies. Because so often it's built into the way that we do things, and it's built into the way that that we're living our life, and we don't even realize that it's negative. We just think, oh, that's how it is. Let me give you an example. One of my clients is a real estate broker, and I was working with this person, and they said, well, you get all your clients from your new listings. And I said, really? Who said that? I said, aren't there two sides of a deal if you're talking like residential real estate? And at least in the United States, and I know it's done differently in different areas in different states, but I live in California. There are the people who buy the home, and there are the people that are selling the home. They're both clients. And this person stepped back and said, oh my gosh, that's what everybody says, but that's not true. It was just an idea. So if you think that's an idea, then you're going to create that in your life, and then you're going to have that happening in your life, and that is negativity. Okay? All right, I think I've successfully turned the screensaver off now. So, all right, so all you people on the video out there, hopefully it's not going to black out anymore. So that's what happens is all of a sudden, like, you have this big aha that, wait a minute, it's not really like that? What do you mean it's not like that? Everybody thinks it's like that. But see, just because everybody thinks it's like that doesn't mean it's true. It just means everybody thinks it's like that because they do. Okay? So these things, really it's stepping back and understanding, are all these thoughts that we have serving us? Now, the reason that this is such a challenge is because 97.4% of them are negative, but 96.4% of them are hidden in our subconscious. And I've been measuring people since I got this idea to measure back in 2003, so that makes it 8 years now. And people will say to me, oh, that's not me or whatever, and invariably it is. So you're going to see tonight when I answer some of the questions, I'll measure your negativity. I'll let you know where you're at. And most people are either like, okay, yeah, I totally could have told you that, or they're shocked. There's very rarely anything in between, because so much of what is in our way is hidden to us, we don't even realize it's there. But this is one of the reasons why, let's say that you've got a spouse or significant other, or whatever, they're watching you, and they'll say, you always do blah, 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 or you do blah, 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 and you'll say, no, I don't. I tell people, chances are you do, because you don't even realize you're doing it. What happens is once something is automatic, and it goes in our subconscious, and it's got this association with this neural pathway, it's just something that we do. We don't even know we're doing it. It's automatic. It's as automatic as sitting in a chair, as looking at the door behind me, knowing that that's called a door. It's automatic. And again, it's set up for us to live our life effortlessly. And what's happening is we're effortlessly living a life of struggle and negativity and things that are in our way because we don't even know that we're doing it, right? So now we've got a bunch of different healing modalities out there that are supposed to start helping people. But what's happening is I continued on with these measures. So first I measured the percentage of negativity. Then I measured how much is in our way, in our subconscious. Then I started measuring how many thoughts are those anyway. And what I found, and remember this is a cluster. You've got the negative thought. You might have some other thoughts that are associated with that now have spawned off of that thought. It's kind of like a wheel. And then you have, your feelings about it. And then you have your the other senses, smell, taste, touch, whatever. All that gets combined into what I call a cluster. Okay, it's a grouping of thought. We have on average 3.5 million of those. So what happens is we've got a bunch of systems out there, and they're sort of helping people one by one by one. But if you work on 100 a day, and it takes 26 days by the NASA research to get rid of them with the traditional affirmation visualization type of method, it will take you 2,136 years to get rid of all those, even at 100 a day, okay? Even if you only had 3 million. And the average person has 3.5 million. So as soon as I did those numbers, I started to see, oh, no wonder why it's so hard to change. It's really just a numbers game, okay? So a lot of what I'm going to be bringing forth for you guys this year are different ways. You know what? I'm like the really, really fast way to help you change. But let's say that you're not quite ready for that yet. There may be some people that are slower, but they're still going to help you. I want to bring forth some different things that you guys can have. And I'm going to tell you about what, I do tonight. But not all of you are going to be ready. I've seen people where, in fact, it's funny, and this person may even be on the call, but here's a person who I met, I think, like 2 years ago, and emailed me and said, oh, I think I'm ready to work with you now. You know what? That's what happens, okay? Sometimes we're not ready till we're ready. And it's okay. It's all good. I mean, there have been things, in my life that I've resisted and had challenges on and things like that. So I'm going to tell you about what I do. I'm going to tell you about how I can help you. And hopefully I'll be able to help you. And then if not, what I want to also do is bring you some other resources, and you'll be looking out for some emails about that, and some other people that can help you as well. Because what I really want is anything is better than nothing. And for you to get started down the path of moving forward into living your life the way it's supposed to be. Life is supposed to be effortless. Life is supposed to be abundant. Life is supposed to be happy. And what I want to tell you is, what? I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. I run my business in 2 days a week. And if I can do it this way, anybody can. Like, there's nothing special about me. Yes, I'm doing what my purpose is and what it is that I came here to do. And very few people are doing that. But part of the reason why very few people are doing that is all this negativity. Because what happens is we don't hear the messages that are meant for us, because they get drowned out in all that negativity. And even if we did, we wouldn't act on them because we're afraid. So fear is our enemy. And fear is actually, it's a frequency. It's like, I'll tell people, if you imagine a top and you're spinning this top and it goes really, really fast, that's how we should be. But what happens is fear is like someone taking their thumb and putting it on your top and stopping it. It literally holds you down and keeps you small. But it's actually a frequency that can be measured. It's part of what I measure too. And because I know this, most people are actually stuck within the frequency of fear. Like that is your highest capacity, and that's why understanding that it's not about the knowledge that you have as much as it is about the capacity to implement that knowledge that counts. If you cannot, because you've got negativity driving the show, because you've got hidden things in your way, if you cannot implement the knowledge you have, knowledge is meaningless. And you should stop going and paying for all this knowledge because it's not going to do you any good. I mean, yeah, it may be interesting, but in terms of really making a change that's going to move you forward, it's not. Okay? So I hate to say that. Sometimes my message is a little harsh, but it's kind of really just how it is. And for a while, I've tempered it and said, oh, I know I don't want to offend people, but food with that, because this is your life. This is not their life, so whatever if they get offended. You know, what I found is that if there's practitioners out there that get offended by me saying, you know, that's the slow road, they're not really working on behalf of their clients and wanting to help them change the fastest way. I mean, that's really the truth. Your job is to do what you can do for yourself in the best way that you can. Okay, so I accidentally found out that I was this healer person who has this gift called thought shifting that could erase all the stuff that's in your way, or big chunks. Now let me tell you why the big chunks matter. Because, and when I say accidentally, I mean seriously, like my background's business, I was transforming companies, like I'm the last person I thought would ever be doing this. But I think that also because of that, I bring this element, like I've done things and people have said, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, yes, I can, because I'm already doing it. So I bring this element that where I didn't learn it from other people. I didn't learn what supposedly I was supposed to do, what I wasn't supposed to do. All I did was say, I want to help you change more quickly and effortlessly, and that has been my focus. And in doing that, I've continued to uncover more and more ways to help people, because that's really what I care about. So let me explain another reason why it can be so hard for us to change. So we've got all this stuff in the subconscious, and what happens is we've got this thing called the reticular activating system. Some of you guys may have heard about it. And it actually helps us effortlessly attract our life. So it takes what's in our subconscious, which it presumes we want to create more of, and it goes out and finds a match for us all over the place and brings in the right people and resources and things like that to help us create our life the way that we want it. Okay? And this is actually a scientific thing. Now, what happens is if you've got the wrong stuff in your subconscious, that phenomenon also occurs. So it's out there attracting all the wrong stuff, okay? Now, if you get rid of, let's say, 1 or 2 negative thoughts, let's say you find someone who can actually help clear that for you, okay? What happens is you get rid of 1 or 2 negative thoughts, but your subconscious is so efficient, it just goes and fills up the hole. So you may find that you take 2 steps forward, but 1 3/4 steps backward. Because you cannot get ahead of how efficient your subconscious is in any major way. All right. So what happens with the thought shifting is I'm able to actually, like at my level 1 process, erases on average 11% of those, which is a huge amount. Okay. And so that allows you to actually get ahead of how efficient your subconscious is and really begin making changes. You cannot attract all that back. You can't. You know, you're never going to be 5 years old again. You're never going to have the same conditioning around you again. You're going to be more aware. And what's more, what I found is when I'm helping erase this negativity using the thought shifting, it's actually coming right out of the subconscious. So what happens is it actually makes you more conscious. In fact, it's interesting. I had some people in one of my groups in 2005, and they tried to copy what I was doing, and I had to say cease and desist, all that good stuff, because they were diluting, you know, my work, and that would end up helping less people. And so they went off and called it something having to do with consciousness. Like they took my term and I said, you can't use thought shifting, you know, blah, blah, blah. So they called it consciousness something because they knew that, and I had told them that when the shifting is happening, it's coming out of your subconscious, and that's making you more conscious. And in fact, there's another number that I measure that has to do with consciousness where I can show that also. And a lot of other people are measuring that one. I just do it because other people are doing it. It's actually not my favorite measure. But it is something that we can show progress in also. So, but that's because you do become more conscious. You can't help it. You get to be more and more and more in charge of your life. So what's happening right now is with 97.4% of all those thoughts in your way, you're not in charge of your life. But you're supposed to be. You're supposed to have a thought. You're supposed to, using the law of attraction, be able to focus on and create that. And you're supposed to be able to get results. But if you've got all this other stuff that's in the way, what happens is this, let's say there's this new thing that comes in that you want to create. And now you've got an opposing thought in your subconscious. So you try to put this new thought in, you focus on it, but the old one is still there. So unless you stick with it for the 26 days or the 21 days or whatever it's going to be and the number of repetitions, or you somehow clear that negative thought out, which usually is a cluster, and it, depending on how old it is, it can involve a lot of negativity. Like I'll show you when I answer some of the questions, but I've worked with people where one incident created 30, 40, 50, 60% of all the negativity that they have. In fact, I worked with a heroin addict about 3 years ago. I met her at this healing thing, and she was going to die, and I knew it. And so I walked her over, and I shifted her of just what was driving her to have her heroin addiction, and it was 78% of all of her negativity. And I was astonished. But what happens is the older that negativity comes in, and there is stuff that we bring into this life with us that I call soul debris, the older that negativity comes in, the more and more powerful it is, and the harder and harder it can be to be free of it. And what's happening is it's picking up steam. So because it's there, let's say you're born with it, right? And so you've got the soul debris, maybe you came in with it, or you got it from your mom. There's different ways, because thought is just energy, so it goes through the mom right into the baby. And now you're born with it. And you start already immediately attracting more negativity to that. So it's like this snowball that's rolling downhill very, very quickly. So the older the energy is, the older the thing came in, the more negativity you're going to tend to have around it. And also, the more shifting you're probably going to need, because it's going to have more fingers and toes and tentacles in different areas of your body, of your life, basically. Okay, it's going to show up in all kinds of different ways. So one of the ways we can recognize negativity in our life, and again, it's resistance. It doesn't mean you're a drag or a bummer. People will say, oh, I'm so happy I don't have any negativity. Oh, it's nothing to do with that. You might be so happy because you've been conditioned to ignore your negative feelings, which, by the way, a lot of people have. This is why, one of the biggest problems I see right now is people that come to me that are on like antidepressant, anti-anxiety medicine. I won't even go down that road right now, but to say this, all that does is cover things up and make it worse. Okay, so I write about that in my addiction book. If you're interested in that, it's the 7 Whys of Addiction, and then the number 7 Whys, WHYS, of addiction.com. You can take a look at that. But I write about that in my addiction book because it is one of the primary reasons why people have addictions. They've got these emotional issues, they're trying to cover them up, and they're not. So being happy on the outside doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're really happy. I mean, look at, we all know people. I mean, Kurt Cobain. Back when I went camping last year at Yosemite, we camped next to these people, these women, and they shared with me, you know what? Our brother was like a multimillionaire and he just killed himself. And they didn't know why. Like, they were tortured because they really, I'm going to cry. They had no idea why their brother had killed himself. It seemed on the surface that he had everything. So it's really what's underneath. It's really, is our life in the direction that it was meant to go into before we came here? Is our life effortlessly moving? Are we happy, but not just happy, like really happy in every way? Are we really experiencing life the way that we're meant to, effortlessly with abundance? Okay, that's really what it's all about. So, with that, that's kind of, that's a little bit about how that happens, about what I do. Part of why it's so hard for the traditional methods to really help you is either they're working one by one, which is basically like taking a spoon to dig out the mountain, and thought shifting is more like dynamite. Okay, it's the difference. Or, or they're trying to get to something and have you identify it that came on early on, but with all this negativity coming in before the age of 5, most of us don't even remember that stuff. So it's like we're really not getting to the root cause. And I was really thinking about this because there was, I've had some resistance to rolling this message out because I know that some people aren't going to like it and they're going to get offended and stuff like that. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, but this is my job to let you know about this. I know things other people don't know. But as I've kind of reflected through it, like one person is like, oh, it started when you were 10. I was like, no, I don't think so. Another person's like, oh, it started when you were 4. I was like, no, I don't think so. And it really turns out that it was like some very old, what I would call soul debris that I came in with. And what I do with my level 4, the quantum thought shifting process, is well, I guess I should tell you about how I work and all that too, so you know, but what I do with that process is actually a recipe of all these different things I do. So I'm kind of like a spiritual jack of all trades. Like if someone is doing something out there and it's worth doing, I probably am already doing it, and it's probably in that recipe. So what happens is I'll just go change the recipe. So I'm on, I think it's now version 42 of that recipe, since I first got it back in 2004. Okay. So let me tell you, so what I do with the thought shifting is I work mostly in groups. So as I go through the questions, I may say, okay, this is something that's appropriate for you, or here's something that's appropriate for you. I'll be starting a new level 1 group at the end of this month. And then I'm going to be going to kind of more of a home study version for level 1. So if you guys want to get in on a live group, there's only going to be probably 1 or 2 more live groups that I'm going to personally run. And then I'm going to go to more the home study version for the groups, for at least for level 1. But basically what it is I shift you, remove 11% of the negativity. I have you do an assessment. It's kind of like a baseline of where you're at, because so much of it's going to go away that's in your subconscious. Ultimately, you won't even recognize yourself. You'll look at it and go, seriously, was I like that? Because you don't even know you're doing it. People around you will see it, but you don't necessarily see it. And, then for 4 weeks, I've got this program that I walk you through the changes that you're going to experience and how to really capitalize on that change. That's level 1, and that's done as a group. It's all done over the phone and the Ustream, just like we're doing here. And then level 2 is basically the same, but it's 25 to 50% of your negativity. So level 1 is like, I'm kind of setting the stage to really help you change and getting rid of things that are in your way to you really being able to change. Level 2, you can focus on something specific that is a particular issue that you really need to focus on. Level 3 is then setting the stage for even a bigger change for you. And then level 4 is where I remove it all. And so they're all different times. Like level 1 and level 2 are both a month right now in the live group, but that's going to extend out with the home study. And then level 3 is 2 months, and level 4 is 6 months. So it kind of goes like that. And even 6 months probably isn't enough support. And then I have a membership thing you can actually do before and after that to just ask me questions like once a month. So the home study people will end up going in the measurement into the membership also. But that's basically how I work, is that, I'm able to shift everyone as a group. And it's just as if I worked with you individually, so it's a way for me to be able to help more people and do it effortlessly. So you don't really have to, in the group, say anything about your situation or what you're there for, or anything. All you have to do is do the assessment. I'm the only one that ever sees those. In fact, I don't really even need it to shift you. It's really for you. You get a copy of it. And, then it starts you on this process of being able to really actually get rid of stuff that's in your way, that's holding you back in your life. And I really can safely say I do not believe that I could be running my business the way that I do, living my life the way that I do. I'm basically like a stay-at-home mom, but I have my own business and I'm helping people. And I'm helping people all over the world, and I've been doing it for quite a while, and in this recession, growing my business. So I really don't believe that I could be doing that if I had all that negativity I'd previously been burdened with, because I was even afraid to start a business. Okay, so and then what happens is you keep changing. And once I remove all of it, you continue to change. So it really never stops. It really doesn't, because you continue to be expansive. That's how we were meant to be. We came in this planet ever expansive, and this negativity just got piled and piled and piled on us. And I can actually see it with my measures. As the negativity gets piled on, it gets higher and higher. This thing called frequency, which is a measure of expansiveness, or people might call it your vibe, gets lower and lower and lower. And this is why you see children, they're all happy and they're bubbly, and then all of a sudden they start like moping around and looking like a drag, and things happen. And I could tell you story and story of like even little kids identifying negative patterns in little kids that are like 2 and 3 because they've already got it. So anyway, but with that, that's what I do. You'll be given an opportunity. We'll send an email out, and it's pamragland.com/level1, LEVEL1. But I am going to be setting up. Some of you might want payment plans, so I'll be setting something like that up also. So I'll send an email when that's available. But now I'm just kind of letting people know about it. And, I'm going to run through now some of the questions and see and answer some of your questions. And then I'm also going to start answering, I'm going to answer your questions on these free calls, but I'm also going to start answering some questions on my blog and then also on my Facebook page. So I'll send an email out about that as well. So if you want to take a look at those things, you have a couple different ways that you can do that as well. And as some people like really